Testing is changing, and manual testing is also time-consuming. AI tools like Claude are helping testers do in minutes what used to take hours. What if you had an AI assistant by your side for the repetitive parts without ever cutting corners? In this video, we'll explore exactly how Claude can help, from generating test cases to planning your whole test strategy. Whether you're a junior tester or a seasoned QA lead, there's something here that will change how you work. We'll cover 6 key areas: generating test cases, writing bug reports, exploratory testing, test data generation, test planning, and reviewing existing test suites. These are tasks every tester does daily, and AI can make all of them faster and more thorough. Let's start with one of the most time-consuming parts of a tester's day: writing test cases. Normally, you read through a requirement and then manually think through every possible scenario: the happy path, what happens when a user enters invalid data, boundary values, edge cases. It takes focus, experience, and time. With Claude, that process looks completely different. You simply paste in your user story or requirement and ask Claude to generate positive, negative, boundary, and edge case tests all at once. You can even tell it exactly what format you want. Need a table with columns for test ID, scenario, input, and expected result? Done. Prefer Gherkin-style given, when, then for your BDD framework? No problem. Here's a quick example. Say you're testing a login form. You paste in the requirement and ask Claude, generate test cases for a login form with email and password fields, including positive, negative, and edge cases, formatted as a table. Within seconds, Claude returns cases like valid credentials logging in successfully, an incorrect password triggering an error message, an empty email field blocking submission, a password with 256 characters testing the length limit, and special characters in the email field checking for proper validation. These are exactly the kinds of cases a thorough tester would write. But instead of spending an hour, you have a solid starting point in under 2 minutes. And more often than not, Claude will surface an edge case you hadn't even thought of yet. Next up, bug reports. And let's be real, this is one of those tasks that sounds simple, but rarely is. You've found the bug, you've seen it happen, you know what went wrong. But then comes the write-up. What were the exact steps? What's the right severity? Did you capture the browser version, the OS, the environment? It's easy to miss something, especially when you're in the middle of a busy testing cycle. That's where Claude makes a real difference. Instead of staring at a blank bug report template, you just describe what happened in plain, everyday language, the same way you'd explain it to a colleague. Something as simple as, I clicked save on the checkout form with an empty email field. The page refreshed, but no error was shown, and the order went through anyway. From that single description, Claude builds a complete professional bug report. It writes a clear and searchable title. It breaks down the steps to reproduce in a numbered, unambiguous format, so any developer can follow them. It separates the expected result, what should have happened, from the actual result, what did happen. It suggests a severity and priority level based on the impact, and it includes an environment checklist, prompting you for things like browser version, operating system, and application version, so nothing gets left out. The result is a report that's consistent, thorough, and ready to drop straight into Jira, Azure DevOps, or whatever tool your team uses. No back and forth with developers asking for more details. No rejected tickets because the steps weren't clear enough. And when the whole team is using Claude for this, the quality becomes consistent across the board, whether it's a junior tester on their first week or a senior QA engineer. Teams report writing bug reports up to 80% faster, and the time saved adds up quickly across a full testing cycle. Even the most experienced testers have blind spots. When you've been working on the same product for a while, it's easy to fall into the same testing patterns, checking the same flows, the same inputs, the same scenarios. Exploratory testing is supposed to break that habit, but without structure, sessions can drift. Claude helps you go in sharper and more focused. Before your session even starts, ask Claude to generate a session-based test charter. It will define a clear mission, what you're testing and why, along with the scope, the areas to cover, and what's out of bounds. That alone makes your exploratory sessions more intentional and easier to report on. Beyond charters, Claude applies industry-proven heuristics to your specific feature. If you're testing a payment form, it will think through SFDI structure, function, data, interfaces, platform, operations, and time, and translate each dimension into concrete things to test. It suggests creative attack ideas tailored to what you're testing. For forms, things like pasting unexpected characters or submitting with JavaScript disabled. For APIs, things like missing headers, out-of-order requests, or oversized payloads. For authentication flows, things like session hijacking scenarios or concurrent login attempts. And if you paste in your feature spec or user stories, Claude will tell you which areas carry the most risk, where a bug would cause the most damage, so you always know where your exploratory time is best spent. Good testing lives and dies by the quality of your test data. And yet, generating test data is one of those tasks that often gets rushed. Testers reuse the same handful of records, stick to happy path values, and hope the edge cases don't bite them in production. They usually do. Claude changes that entirely. You can ask it to produce test data in whatever format your system needs. JSON for API testing, CSV for bulk imports, SQL insert statements for direct database testing, XML for legacy integrations, or plain text for manual entry, whatever fits your workflow. But the real value is in the depth of the data Claude generates. It doesn't just give you a list of valid names and emails. It thinks like a tester. It produces realistic user profiles with names, addresses, phone numbers, and dates of birth across different locales. It generates boundary values, the exact minimum and maximum your fields will accept, and one step beyond each. It creates invalid inputs, null values, empty strings, white space-only entries, and wrong data types. And it goes further with edge cases that genuinely stress your system. Unicode characters that break poorly written parsers, SQL injection strings that expose security vulnerabilities, extremely long strings that overflow input fields, and special characters that trip up validation logic. These are exactly the inputs that find real bugs. And instead of spending an afternoon constructing them by hand, you have a full dataset ready in under a minute. Test planning is often one of the most time-consuming parts of a QA cycle, and one of the easiest to shortcut when deadlines are tight. Claude helps you do it properly without it taking all day. Give Claude a product requirements document, a feature spec, or even a rough set of user stories, and it will draft a complete test plan. That means defining clear entry criteria, what needs to be in place before testing begins, and exit criteria, what conditions need to be met before you can sign off. It builds a coverage matrix, mapping each requirement to the tests that cover it, so you can see at a glance whether anything has been missed. And it produces a risk-based priority list, identifying which areas of the feature carry the most risk and should be tested first. Now flip it around. If you already have a test suite built up over months or years, paste it into Claude and ask for a review. Claude will read through your existing test cases and identify coverage gaps, requirements that aren't tested at all. It flags duplicate or overlapping cases that are wasting execution time. It spots missing assertions, where a test goes through the motions but never actually checks the right outcome. And it suggests improvements to test steps that are vague or hard to reproduce consistently. It's the kind of thorough review that a senior QA engineer would give, but available instantly, anytime you need it. Before we move on, let's talk about how to get the best out of Claude when you're testing. Because like any tool, the quality of what you get out depends on what you put in. First, always paste the actual spec or user story, not a summary you've written from memory. The more context Claude has, the more targeted and relevant the output will be. A vague description produces generic test cases. A real requirement produces specific, useful ones. Second, tell Claude what type of application you're testing. Is it a web app, a native mobile app, a REST API, a desktop application? Each of these has different risk areas, different edge cases, and different attack surfaces. Mentioning the type upfront means Claude tailors everything to your context. Third, ask for a specific output format. If your team uses Jira, ask for a table. If you're working in a BDD framework, ask for Gherkin. If you need plain steps for a manual test script, ask for that. Getting the format right from the start saves you time reformatting later. Fourth, include your tech stack when relevant. Knowing you're running on Node.js or using MySQL or testing on iOS 17 helps Claude give you better environment details, more relevant data suggestions, and sharper edge cases. And fifth, don't stop at the first response. Claude is built for conversation. If the first batch of test cases is good but not complete, just say add 5 more edge cases, or now give me the negative scenarios for step 3. You can keep refining until you have exactly what you need. Let's make this concrete and walk through what an AI-assisted testing day actually looks like in practice. It's 9 a.m. A new feature has just been assigned to you, a redesigned checkout flow. You paste the spec into Claude, and within 2 minutes you have a full set of test cases, a list of edge cases you might not have thought of, and a risk assessment highlighting which parts of the flow are most likely to break. You start the day with a plan instead of spending the first hour building one. By 10 a.m., you're ready for an exploratory session. You ask Claude for a session charter focused on the payment processing step. Claude defines the mission, sets the scope, and gives you a list of attack ideas specific to payment forms. Things like duplicate submissions, network interruptions mid-transaction, and currency edge cases. Your session is focused, documented, and productive. At 11 a.m., you find a bug. The order confirmation email isn't being sent when a user checks out as a guest. You describe it to Claude in plain English, and within seconds you have a fully formatted bug report ready to paste straight into Jira, complete with steps, expected result, actual result, severity, and environment details. After lunch, the development team pushes a hotfix to the address validation logic. You ask Claude which existing regression tests are most relevant to rerun given that change. Claude narrows the list down and explains why each one matters, so you're not rerunning the entire suite unnecessarily. By 3 p.m., you're reviewing the test plan for the upcoming release. You paste it into Claude and ask for a gap analysis. Claude spots 3 user scenarios that aren't covered and flags 2 test cases with weak assertions. You fix them before the cycle even starts. Same amount of work, same hours in the day, just done smarter. So, let's bring it all together. AI is not here to replace manual testers. The judgment, curiosity, and experience that a great tester brings, the ability to notice something feels wrong even before you can articulate why, that can't be automated. What AI can do is take the time-consuming, repetitive, mechanical parts of your workflow off your plate, so you can spend more of your day on the testing that actually requires a human. Testers who embrace that will be faster, more thorough, and more valuable to their teams. Testers who don't will find themselves spending hours on things their colleagues are doing in minutes. Claude is available right now at Claude.ai. There's nothing to install, no integration to set up, no approval process to wait for. You can open it in a browser tab right now and start using it alongside your existing tools and workflows today. Start small if you want. Use it to generate test cases for the next feature that lands on your desk. Try it for your next bug report. Ask it to review a test plan you've been meaning to get to. You'll see the difference immediately. Test smarter. Work faster with AI.